Welcome back to the Overcast Gamer Show. It's another cracker of a day here in Wellington, actually.
Yes.
Not living up to our name, so I'm not too sure what to do about that. We might have to rebrand or something.
Or we just start lying about the weather. You know?
That's true. True.
No, actually, this morning it was overcast as shit. It was super overcast.
Oh, there you go.
They got up early this morning to go and see a whole bunch of people run a long distance.
Absolutely. They ran near me, in the near vicinity.
Around the bays, I've heard.
Around the bays.
Yeah.
And slightly impeded me getting here, so I wasn't particularly happy about that. But we'll forgive them for now. I'm joined, as always, by
Balthazar Valentine
and Reagan Harper.
And today we've got some good chat. We've got a lot of indie chat, actually. We've all been playing some good indies here. A little bit of news, a little bit of chat about the Hitman beta and some big releases, and then we'll move into a couple of discussion topics that might be of interest there. So we'll crack straight into it. I'm going to flip over to Regan because we haven't heard much from him in the past weeks there. So Regan, go for it, mate.
Yeah, I feel a little bit bad about that actually, but that's okay. I've been working on other bits and pieces which I'm sure all of our listeners will really enjoy once it comes time for those to blossom into full flight. So my thing, as I mentioned in the last one, Abe and I discussed which game of Firewatch and Unravel we'd be playing, and I got Unravel, which was really cool. I'm not typically a platform kind of gamer, but this one was really cool. So this is, if you haven't heard of Unravel, is a relatively new indie release, exposed for the first time at E3 last year.
I believe so. Yeah, the very, very nervous lad on stage giving the preview.
Absolutely.
Almost, I kind of felt a bit sorry for him. His game looked pretty nice, but yeah, he was just all over the show.
Absolutely, yeah. But that's cool. You got to start somewhere. Yes, published by EA, and the developers were Coldwood Studios. It's a really small team, and there's actually within the game there's a lot of sort of references to their small team, and it seemed like a really kind of personal game,
right?
And labour of love for them, which is really cool. And saying the word love kind of narrows down in a big way kind of what this game is about. If you haven't looked into it, it's a, I guess you'd characterise it as a puzzle platformer.
Right. Yep.
So it's a platform game in its core mechanics with puzzle elements.
So it's akin to Limbo or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so essentially the premise is that you are a small character made of yarn, red yarn.
Right.
If you want to be specific around colour, if that matters to you.
Yarney, I believe.
Yarney, yes, yeah. Yarney is the name of the small character, and it's quite cool. Essentially the thread of yarn starts at you're attached to a thread of yarn, so you're carrying this thread of yarn with you, and you gradually unraveling as you go through the various stages. So that's kind of where the name comes from, Unravel. Mm-hmm. Pretty straightforward. I don't want to sort of go into the idea behind the game and the ending too much, because I'm sure there'll be people out there who want to play it and maybe just haven't quite got to it. It's only been out for a couple of weeks.
Right.
But essentially that's the core of it. It's a puzzle platformer, and you've got various yarn-typed powers, which is a ridiculous thing to say, that you use to get through the levels. He's quite a sprightly little character, is Yarney, and essentially he is traversing these levels and collecting mementos of someone's past, and as you collect those...
There's your indie element.
Exactly, yep. As you collect those mementos, you build out the story of this person. And so essentially you're learning this person's life story through going through these puzzles, and all of the different stages are based in different, I guess, areas of that person's life.
Right.
So it's really lovely. The game itself is beautiful. The music it fits the tone of it perfectly.
Yep.
And the backdrops and the way there's sort of blur into the back of these kind of because it's obviously a 2D platform.
Right.
But there's blur and into the backdrops, and the game itself is beautiful looking, plays really well, no drop frames or anything crazy like that. It's all, the whole thing is just spot on, and that's probably, I think that's kind of, for me, having played through it, was the biggest thing that I noticed was they've really they've taken the time to nail the tone of the game. So while it's not very long, and to be honest, it's not very difficult, so it's not a huge challenge or anything like that.
Yep.
It's really that tone that they've set that makes the game what it
Yeah.
is. I think a few of the other guys, other websites and things around the internet have given it maybe about a 7.
Okay.
I'll hold off on what I would say as far as my review score would go until we actually write a review for it.
Yep.
But it feels like it sits about there as far as those ratings and things.
Yep.
So the soundtracks was really nice. Really good job at setting that mood and building your kind of connection to Yarney the character, because he's quite frail. You'll die in a lot of situations.
Mm-hmm.
So generally quite a cool game. My biggest bugbear with it though was that the puzzles weren't that clever.
Okay.
So the issue with
stock standard.
Yeah, stock standard. You could kind of just get your way through them without too much thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest thing really was that they were they'd set up a puzzle, and they would give the impression that the puzzle was really difficult,
Right.
and that there's little spots all around this area to latch onto and create pulleys and all this kind of thing, and it's like, there's going to be this really complex system of things to do. But the problem with it is that they sort of just put all of that in there to distract from the fact that the solution was really simple.
Ah, okay.
So the puzzles kind of, and then when you got it, you were like, oh.
So they're throwing red herrings around.
Exactly.
Make it feel more
So,
clear than it actually is.
Yeah, that was my impression of it, and so I guess there's probably, I played through it from A to B and didn't really go into really nutting out and getting all of the collectibles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But probably 3 out of 5 collectibles on every stage without really even trying.
Okay.
So there's a couple.
So they're not particularly hidden.
No.
Really.
And I guess if you sort of spot the themes that they do early on in those stages, you can guess at where they're going to be hidden and that kind of thing.
Yep.
And so it was, that was my biggest bugbear with it, is that they could have probably spent a bit more time and perhaps aiming the puzzle side of it to just a slightly higher level than when they did. And I don't know whether that's because they were perhaps aiming for it to be just a peaceful sort of flowy kind of game, and which it was. So the mood of it was there, and I found myself sort of coming away from playing it feeling quite relaxed and going, that was nice,
Okay.
that was pleasant. But I think the puzzle side of it just lacked a wee bit.
Right.
So I think a little bit more of a balance there might have been nice, but in general the game played really well. Physics and all that kind of stuff, or the way the character worked were really cool. Quite frail, but yet quite really good at sort of getting through the levels and being nimble and agile and all those kind of things. So really interesting game, and I think from Coldwood Studios a real sort of labour of love, and I'll leave that kind of hook with love hanging there for those people who do want to go out and play it, because that's sort of, I guess, a core motif. When you do find out at the end kind of what they're going for. But generally, really cool game. Have you guys looked into it at all?
A little bit. Just I just wanted to bring up the way you describe the puzzles. They look really hard and they're actually really easy. That almost sounds like the anti-Witness to me, in which the puzzles look incredibly easy and they end up being mind-meltingly difficult. So that'll be an interesting one to jump straight from. From coming from The Witness is the last puzzle game I played, and if I jump into Unravel...
Yeah, I would almost say that you would get there and go, is this a puzzle game?
Right.
Having just played The Witness.
Played The Witness, yeah.
You're going to go back and go, well, it's more of just a sort of a flowy, nice platforming game.
Right.
Yeah, the puzzle side of it is pretty straightforward.
Yeah. Stock standard game design, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which is cool. It's hard to knock it because... it's still a lovely game. It's still really nice.
Yep.
The character's really cool. Music's great. It all works together, and it's a nice kind of set piece there. But there was something that was not quite there for me.
Yep.
The themes, the indiness, all of that, cool. Big thumbs up. Good job, Coldwood Studios. But those puzzles, maybe they could have just hit it a little bit.
Yeah, had a bit more of a brainstorm about that. Come up with some more clever ideas.
Yeah, something along those lines. Yeah.
Interesting.
But if you're into that kind of sort of game, definitely pick it up. It's pretty cheap. I believe it was about $40, and probably pretty quickly drop in price.
Yep. Are we looking at about 4 to 5 hours of gameplay?
I'd say a little bit more than that. Maybe 6 to 8.
Oh, nice.
And then if you're going to go back and get all of the pickups and all that kind of stuff,
right,
you're probably looking at 10 to 12 perhaps if you
Okay.
didn't use any guides or anything like
That's
that.
not a bad amount of value. To be honest.
Not too bad. Yeah, I mean, I sort of played it in very sporadic chunks across a couple of weeks, and so it was a little bit hard to gauge for me. But yeah, probably the lower end, probably about 6 hours or so.
Okay.
If you
Right.
yeah, and definitely if you take your time and find all those little hidden gems and things, you're looking at a little bit longer. And
Right.
perhaps I'm just terrible at platformers, so you probably if you're going for a speed run, you could probably get through it in 3 or 4.
Yeah. Balthazar, you got any thoughts on that one?
Not really on Unravel, no. I mean, as I said when we were talking about it last time, between Unravel and Firewatch, Unravel was the one where I saw it, made an assumption about what the game would be, that it would be a cutesy platformer in which at the end you were reduced to a single button in a crying child's arms, and that was it. Like, that's my assessment. It doesn't matter what people tell me it actually is, that's what that game is. And yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones for me, it just has the feel of a PS Plus game.
Right.
Just when I look at everything about it, to me feels like this would do well as March's game, or not necessarily March because it's only just come out, but like it feels like it would do well and quite strongly as a month heading title for PS4 for the PS Plus free games, but not really a strong title on its own in terms of my interests.
So it feels like a PS Plus game that wouldn't make us all curse.
Pretty much, yeah. It feels like one where we'd be really appreciative if we saw it at PS Plus, but that I personally wouldn't get outside of it being on PS Plus.
Right.
That's a good call. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I think it probably would be one that would come into the realm of PS Plus quite quickly as well. Due to them being a first-time studio, they're probably looking to make quite good connections with Sony.
Absolutely, yeah,
of course.
And hats off to the guys. Like it's I've said it a couple of times already, but it's a beautiful game. It's really nice, and there's a lot that they've done in there that's great. That's just spot on.
Yep.
But just a couple little bits and pieces, which I'm sure they'll take away from having built this game and go, okay, cool, well, that's areas of improvement next time.
Yep.
And they'll probably disagree with a lot of what people are saying as well, because I'm sure they would have had a set idea of why they set puzzle difficulty and all those kind of things where they did. But yeah, that's good.
Okay. Well, I might just jump in because we were talking about Unravel and Firewatch. I was the one who ended up with Firewatch. I was pretty stoked about that. Now, had a difficult relationship with this game. I wasn't envisioning this when I picked it up. It has some of the worst frame rate issues I've ever seen in a game in general when I picked it up.
And this is you playing it on PS4?
This is PlayStation 4. Yeah, sorry, I should specify that. Not the PC version. This is the PlayStation 4 version. So since the opening credits, as soon as spoilers, you start in an elevator. Wow.
And you've ruined the game for me.
I know.
Unbelievable.
Now I know it's in modern times because elevators exist.
I believe it's set in 1980s. Started in the elevator and I was kind of looking around, and it honestly looked like a Microsoft PowerPoint slideshow. It was horrendous. It was like hitching every second. I was very, very disappointed in it. I probably played about 2 hours of it in total until yesterday, in which I played probably about another 2 hours because it actually got patched recently. I was waiting for the patch because I really, really liked the game, but it was just impeding so much on my enjoyment of the game, the frame rate, that I just didn't want to progress anymore.
Any improvement from the patch?
Much, much better.
Oh, brilliant.
Yep. There's still definitely noticeable hitching. Every now and then it will even come to a standstill, but it's not every second that it's doing this like it was previously, which just made it pretty much unplayable.
Pretty incredible that they decided they were going to go for a release with the game in that sort of state.
It is an interesting one. Apparently a lot down to the Unity engine, which isn't the greatest of engines I've heard. The Witness was built on that. I didn't see any problems with that. So, there's got to be some blame to the devs. Some blame falls on their lap. But no, now it has been patched. I played about 2 more hours yesterday, and I really, really like this game. It's fantastic. It's like nothing I've really ever played. So your name is Henry. You're a very troubled man. I won't get into why that is, but you end up in the Wyoming wilderness, and you're a fire warden in a tower.
Yes.
And it's a really the one word I'd use to describe this game is quiet. It's a very, very quiet game. So
everyone's just in a bra and see-through pants.
Oh no, not in that way, thankfully.
I'm out.
Yeah.
No Kojima influence. But yeah, no, it's really interesting, eh? It's you and pretty much the only other person you talk to is this lady Delilah over this radio that you have, and you can choose different conversation options and things like that when you talk to her. But some of the best voice acting I've ever heard in any video game ever.
Wow.
Absolutely, 100%. I adore these characters and their voices and their personalities, and you can just hear every little nuance in their voice. It's just phenomenal. I don't know who did the voices, but kudos to them.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of takes place over a summer, so you're there for the summer to be the fire warden. It sort of skips forward in time quite often. It'll start with day 1, and you might end up at day 7 or something like that, and you can sort of take what you will from their conversations as to what has happened. You never miss really important stuff, but it's kind of cool that you can just come to your own conclusions on that. Incredibly interesting art style as well, very similar to The Witness, very Time Splitters-esque. That's sort of like quite cartoony. Everyone's got quite broad hands and things like that. It is a first-person game, and you can see your body, you can see your arms and your legs, but it's open world in a way. You can tell they're pretty much this is their first real big title, because there is a lot of invisible walls, things like that. It is open world, but very limited open world, so they're always guiding you in a certain direction and stuff like that. But another mechanic I really found interesting was they give you a map and a compass, and the map gets little things plotted on it, and you pretty much have to guide yourself there. There's no little marker, or you have to bring up your map by pressing up on the D-pad. You bring up your map and you have a look, and you're like, am I going in the right direction? Like your compass, you're like, oh yeah, sweet, we'll go down this path. I just found that really interesting, eh? Like, I'm used to just having a little, heads up display icon or something to follow. And
Tell you exactly where to go. Did you find that by doing it like that, you sort of paid more attention to the actual world around you? And
definitely.
You got to know
for sure, because you look out for landmarks and things like that, and you start building your own mental map.
That's really cool.
It is. It's a really, really cool game. As I said, it's pretty limited. It's not really about exploration. It's more about this definitely story-driven game.
Yeah.
You're sort of just doing set tasks that you're asked to do or that you have to do, kind of thing.
So there's no just kind of like random points on the map where you can just go off and explore that.
You can, location. But there's very, very little fulfillment in doing so.
Right.
There's not. You find these sort of supply boxes that you can break into very, very easily, and there's some artifacts in there every now and then. You can read some notes and things like that. But it is quite arduous getting from place to place. It's quite slow. There's a lot of rappelling down lines and stuff like that. So sometimes you'll go down a big drop and you won't be able to get back the way you came, so you have to go around and stuff like that. So it's not generally a go off and explore and do what you want kind of game.
Unless you really enjoyed that and decided that hey, I'm going to try and get all of the
exactly. And there is a lot of enjoyment to be found in those little notes that you find people like other fire wardens writing to each other and stuff, and it builds the backstory quite nicely. But the flesh of the story is in Henry and Delilah's relationship, and I think I must be maybe an hour out from finishing it or something. Like feels kind of like that, but it does get a lot more mysterious. It starts off just quite relaxed, and it's just kind of about these two people, and then shit starts going down, for lack of a better term. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it now. It's been fixed. I think it's fantastic game.
And it's not the thriller-esque type game that we thought we had guessed that it might have been.
Not really. It has started becoming more thrilling or more thriller-esque recently. But no, I don't think that's really what it's going for.
Yeah.
It's more going for building these two characters up and their relationship, which I love character and I love story. That's the two main elements for me in any movie or game or whatever. So I'm really having a blast with this. It sort of falls into that genre of like games a la The Walking Dead or something, where they almost need the title of the genre, it needs to be renamed to like adult fiction or something like that. It's not, you don't really do much, to be honest. There's not a huge amount of doing.
Yeah.
It's more just like, walking through the experience or having the experience.
Like if you had to hold up on your remote to watch the movie right through.
Yeah. Thankfully, there's none of that. There's no big fuck yous to the player. Yeah, no, I definitely recommend it. I think it's about $30.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's been patched. It's a fantastic game. It has lived up to all expectations.
Awesome. That's actually really pleasant to hear. And in the time that you've been spieling, I went onto the PlayStation app and bought it.
Oh,
Because I was waiting. I was waiting to hear whether or not it had been patched, and I had my fingers crossed, and was like, I'm waiting for this to happen.
Yep.
So I was like, yep, cool, frame rate's fixed.
It's definitely fixed. Don't go into it expecting your buttery smooth frame rate, but it doesn't impede on your enjoyment anymore.
Yeah, sounds good.
Which is really good.
Speaking of which, I found out something interesting recently, which might be a tip that I didn't know. There's actually a PlayStation app for Android and iOS, and you know how there's this myth that what you can do is kind of get your PlayStation download games when it's on standby.
Right.
Discovered that if you buy a game on this particular app, after you get through the checkout, it goes download to your PS4. So I got the Helldivers PlayStation Plus game for this year, for this month. Sorry, was at work 2 days ago, and I knew I wasn't going to get home for a couple of days because I had various things to do. Download, got home the other day, there it is sitting there for me.
Magic.
Amazing.
Technology, mate.
You should definitely check it out if you're someone who's on the go and you have your PlayStation sitting on whatever it is.
That signifies the next generation to me. Shit like that.
Yeah, pretty amazing. Yeah.
Brilliant.
But because in the past I thought, oh yeah, I can download stuff while it's just sitting there idle. But then I've downloaded a patch or something, put it in pause mode or whatever it's called. Gone away, come back, and the patch just has to finish.
Right.
But I guess it's for this type of functionality where you can set it up. But anywho, just thought I'd bring that up because I thought it was freaking awesome.
Yeah. That's
very cool
functionality. Balthazar, man, what have you been playing?
Yeah, so I'm playing a couple of indie titles too. I mean, I guess first I'll jump into the one I also played on PS4. There's also a new release, but not breaking my resolution because I didn't purchase it. I just got home from work one day and it was preloaded onto my PS4, not through use of any app or fanciness like that. Just the missus have bought it.
All these technicalities.
Put it on there.
See, I feel like we need to have a chat with her and say, hey, look, come on.
Stop.
This president has been
Stop
set.
enabling.
Yeah. But no, this essentially is just a horror game and she can't play through them. But Layers of Fear, which has a lot of similarities with both of the games you two have been talking about. Not in themes at all, but in general experience. So it also opens to a PowerPoint slideshow. You are just in a lobby of your house, pretty much. You've just come through the entry door. And as soon as you open the door into the house, fine. And from that point, the game runs fine. But for whatever reason, that opening entranceway seems to run at about 10 FPS.
Oof.
No idea why, because as soon as you walk into the house, same lighting, same dynamic shadows, same everything in the house that there was in that hallway, but much bigger. Just for whatever reason, that opening way is just terrible.
That is bizarre.
There are a few more frame drops throughout the game when you get to some of the more populated areas, especially the ending. There's a point where it kind of tries to bring all of the rooms that significant things throughout the story had happened into one space. And I'm not quite sure what it is, because again, it's not a massively dense or populated space, but it's quite, I'd say the frame drops through the entire of that segment to probably about 25, which, isn't much lower than the locked 30, but it's still, even 30's only passable.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, we should be running things at 60. So yeah, I mean, there's the similarities to Firewatch. Then the similarities to Unravel come where this game almost sets it up to be a walking simulator / puzzle game, where it's kind of like, look, in order to progress through certain events and areas, you need to get the correct items, use them with things, do things in the correct order, things unlock other things, to go forth. And they set it up to be kind of like, hey, this is going to be a complicated puzzle game that has no complexity to it whatsoever. I wouldn't even put the tag puzzle to this game at all, but I think the game itself desperately wants you to call it a puzzle game.
That's a real shame, eh?
Yeah. So
because otherwise you're just walking around going, huh! Walking an extra,
But yeah, I mean, so those are kind of the similarities to Firewatch and Unravel. When you get into the game itself, it's completely different. I mean, essentially, it is a walking simulator, very heavily inspired by PT.
I was going to say,
very heavily, to the point that there's this one particular section where you kind of round a corner, you hear a woman crying, and you round a corner, and you see her at the end of the corridor, and she's got that very Lisa from PT element where her limbs seem to exist in 3 spaces at once because they're kind of spasming up and down and doing that kind of twitching. And it just, as soon as I saw that, I was like, no, this is straight from PT. They've literally just ripped this segment from the game. But that's not in any way a bad thing. I mean, PT's gone. I replaced my hard drive with a bigger one because I was running out of space, which means I've lost PT. So I'm happy that this game, that pretty much is a longer version of PT, came out. It's cool. I would struggle to give it a rating because it is essentially a walking simulator, which I find a very hard genre of game to give a rating to because you don't really play it, you do just walk. You walk around corners, you walk through doors, there's interaction everywhere. I mean, you have to open the doors, you don't just walk into them, you hold down R2 and then move the thumbstick either forwards or back based on whether it's push or pull kind of thing. You walk through, that's the interaction.
It's borderline.
It requires you to do things to progress, but you're not playing it, you are just interacting with it as you go. When you get to those puzzle areas, puzzle in inverted commas, it does become a lot more interactive and you do need to work things out, but like I said, they're still not puzzles. One thing that really comes to mind is there's this phone section where a phone rings, you have to find out where it is, you find it, you answer it, there's some dialogue, you hang up, and then the phone becomes interactable again, and you then dial a number, so you need to work out what number you need to dial. You then dial the number, which then starts another phone ringing. You then need to go find the next phone, answer it, some more dialogue, find the number to dial on that phone, all the while the house is rearranging itself around you and constantly changing. And that felt very much like a sequence that, done better, would be in a puzzle game. But because you didn't really have to do anything to get the numbers. You just had to literally walk to the right area or interact with the right thing to have the number then present itself to you. It wasn't a puzzle.
A bit tedious, just going from one to the next.
It was very cool. There's a segment in that same area, that phone area, where I won't spoil anything because it's a hard game to spoil anyway, to be honest. I went online not directly afterwards, but I went online a little later because I was like, I think I know what the story is, but I'm going to look, because the game doesn't tell you the story. You can choose to pick up and read diaries and scraps of paper and letters to get the story, and there's nothing online. No one knows the story. It's very open to interpretation, which is incredibly frustrating when I just want to know if I'm right. And there's this cool bit in the phone area where you need to find a number to dial one of the phones, and you notice like a wardrobe or a cabinet way above you kind of slowly tip forwards and then fall, and as it falls the shadow disappears, and you just think like, shadow weirdness, there's stuff everywhere, and then you look down at where the cabinet hit the ground and you see the number you have to dial. You dial the number, house rearranges, you walk through a hallway, open a door, and you're just presented through this door with the number you just dialed, and you walk into it to kind of try and progress, and as you walk into it, it starts to tip forwards and then falls, making a sound which made me instinctively kind of take a step back. And then I walked forwards, looked down, and there was the platform where I was just standing, and it was the wardrobe I'd just knocked off. So the shadow that I'd seen from below knock off the thing was me in the future.
That's pretty awesome.
And I was like, that's really cool. I don't see how that ties into the plot at all, because time travel isn't even vaguely associated with this game, but this is really cool. So there's a lot of things like that where I definitely recommend it as a game to play through, because it is really cool. There's a lot of awesome things in it, but I can't describe what the game really is. It really is just a walking simulator with horror elements.
It sounds to me like the kind of questions that come up when you go to like a modern art museum. You go in there and you're walking around and you're looking at things on the walls and you go,
A very apt comparison, considering so much of this game is looking at things on the walls, because it's about a struggling artist, a painter, and his paintings everywhere and everything.
There you
so
go.
It really is.
You're always asking yourself the questions like, maybe this could be what this is about. And you look at it and it's just, you're never quite sure. And you want to go to the internet to be like, well, what is this piece of art about? But,
it seems like the internet is behind at the moment with this game. Potentially it's a pricing thing. I don't know what the price is. Like I said, it was already loaded on my PlayStation, but I would imagine the price is probably too steep for what it is. I'd say it's probably like I'd give it the same treatment as Unravel, and I'd say it should be it would be a good month to have on PS Plus.
Did a horror month or something?
But it's probably going to cost like $30, I'd guess, based on the going rate for titles at the moment, and I'd say it's not worth much more than $12.
Right.
So I'd say
You were so...
That's pretty damning.
$12.
$12 precisely.
Wow.
$12.98 maybe.
That is incredible.
But yeah, it's just one of those things. I think that's because that's the price I would see it for maximum on Steam.
Right. Yeah.
And so I feel that it shouldn't be priced at any more than that. It's an enjoyable game, and I'd recommend people check it out if they get the opportunity to. But I wouldn't recommend paying more than $12 for it.
How long are we talking? How long is this game?
My first time through, I was going very slowly. A, because I was picking up every scrap of paper, trying to read everything, trying to piece together the story. And B, because I wanted to try and make it as suspenseful as possible for the wife and try to just...
So
freak
she
her out
sits
the
there
whole
and
way
just
through.
watches you play it?
Yeah. Well, watches through hands like this. So I tried to kind of make it as painful as possible for her by going slowly. So it did take me about 5-6 hours the first time through. But I then did a speed run afterwards. So I was like, if I just go through and I don't go for paper, I just run through, what will this take? And I did it yesterday. And I'd say I probably did it in under 2 hours.
Wow.
So if you run through, you miss everything, but you can run from start to finish in under 2 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, another thing that factors into the price point that I'd recommend. But yeah, it was good. It was just not what I really thought it was going to be. It's like PT. You can't really say what it is because there's not a lot to it. You're literally just walking around and kind of spooky shit happens around you. That's pretty much what this game is.
I don't think I'll ever play it. I hate scary games.
I love horror games, but I hate jump scares. I find them so fucking cheap.
Well, this game doesn't have a lot of jump scares.
That's good.
It's much more, again, the comparison to PT, where it's just meant to be slightly unsettling and disturbing the whole way through.
Yeah.
That's what this game does.
I reckon I'll check it out then. That sounds good.
There's the occasional jump scare. I mean, there's there's points where kind of you walk up somewhere, you go to open the door, it's locked, you turn around, and there's something right there, but it's something like the first time it happens, I'll say it because it's pretty cool, is you turn around and there's something there and you think it's a person, you think they're reaching for you, and then you notice it's just a stack of books that's vaguely shaped like a person, and it looked like it was lunging at you because it's falling over, and it's like, that was cool, that was clever, I like that. And yeah, I mean, so even when there are jump scares, you forgive the game for it because they're quite clever jump scares. They're not just like, and that's it. Goose. So I did like it. I struggle to recommend it at its presumed price point at the moment. But again, I don't actually know what it costs. So if it is $12, go for it, buy it, play it.
Just quickly on the topic of PT, did you guys ever finish that?
I did, yeah.
No.
Like the things you have to do to finish that game are absolutely
like the walk
insane.
to 10 steps towards the sink fetus, wait for it to laugh. Or something.
Yep, wait for it to laugh, walk 10 steps, then you go and ring the phone, answer the phone, and then you fuck the weirdest thing. I just couldn't believe this. This is I mean it's Kojima, I can't believe it, but the last step you have to
connecting the headset.
You have to connect the headset and whisper a certain name into the microphone. You have to whisper someone's name into the microphone. In order to complete PT.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty great. I was saying that and I forgot because I replayed it before I took out my hard drive, knowing that I'd lose it. So I was like, I'm going to play it again for giggles. And I got to the end and I forgot the exact process. And I was like, I don't really want to look it up online. So I was just running up and down the hallway going, Lisa! In my headset for ages. Why are you Lisa?
I got up to the bit where the room's all red and green and you start going really fast. That's where I got up to without a walkthrough. And then I just went online. I was like, there was no way in hell I could have possibly figured that out. You absolute maniac.
It's interesting. It's a cool. At least it's a cool use of that technology. I didn't think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then you get
they are
Daryl from The Walking Dead.
They are getting into chats again. Hideo and Guillermo, who's been awesome coming out. So anyway, other things you've been playing, Balthazar.
Yeah, I also played Pony Island. Now this is going to be strange for you guys, for listeners to hear from me, because I don't have any issues with this game. This game for me, I think, is what Undertale was for everyone else. It's fucking brilliant. It's amazing. I loved it. I think the key difference between Pony Island and Undertale for me is the running length. Pony Island's about 2 hours. Undertale was about 6 hours. Now, they both are very similar in that they're all about the meta fourth wall breaking craziness that happens. And I think, the main difference between the two is that while the gameplay loops in both are equally repetitive, because Pony Island is so short, you don't care, because the actual reason you're playing the game, those really meta moments, there's a lot less filler content in between to get
what's
to.
Pony Island all about? Give me a bit of a synopsis.
Pony Island is a game about ponies jumping fences. Tap the table. So you are a person. It's a hard one. I almost feel like you can talk about this game and give things away because it's so short anyway. It's all immediately there as soon as you start playing. I guess it goes into that discussion of what's a spoiler, if it's within the first 10 minutes, etc. And with the game 2 hours, everything's presented to you so quickly, none of it's really... I would consider a spoiler.
Anything at all about it?
Okay, any listeners, there'll be time codes in the description. If you don't want to hear Pony Island spoilers, skip ahead. But essentially, you are someone who has died, and your soul is trapped in hell, and Pony Island is hell. So this game...
Really dark, really fast.
Yeah, immediately this game gets dark. I mean, after the first round of playing Pony Island, it's like you win and it's all happy music and there's experience bar going up and it's like level 9,999,000, yay! And it's like level 2, please insert soul to continue. And so like immediately it's just like, whoa, it's got weird fast. But yeah, pretty much you are playing this game, which is basically left click to jump over fences, right click to shoot your laser beam, which you don't have right at the start. Hold down left click to glide or fly.
Right.
And while you're playing this, the game breaks and you then try to fix it. And it's got these, the gameplay is essentially broken into 3 parts. There's the pony part where you're jumping, shooting, etc. It's just basically like a runner, side-scrolling runner. Part 2 is a quasi-hacking mini-game. So basically a key starts at the top left of the screen and you need to get it to whatever point in the screen where the lock is. And to get it there, you need to pass it through some equations and you need to make sure everything adds up and is correct based on the coding so that it then makes it to the lock and unlocks it successfully. And the third part is ever-changing. So it's basically the meta game. So you start off, you know, the game breaks, you go to fix it with some of these hacking mini games, and then you find out this person called Hopeless Soul starts talking to you in an IM messaging box that comes up at the bottom, and you have to type to them. They're like, hey, are you there? Are you reading this? Can you blah, blah, blah? And so you have to be like, hey, and you can talk to him, and it's really cool how he reacts based on what you're typing. So when he was like, you know, is anyone there? Can you talk to him? I was like, no. And he's like, no, what? Are you there? Are you trying to make me go away? What are you doing? I'm like, no, just no. So just typing, I'm like, I wonder what this game will do. And he gets quite upset with you, and eventually, you know, it's really like, all right, I'll play along. But it's just really cool. It's hard to explain, but it's just such a cool little game. It really fucked my mind at one point where I got to a boss segment, and his name is Asmodeus, and he's like, we're going to play a game. The game's very simple. I'm going to ask you questions, you answer them. The rule is you can't look away from me the whole time we're playing the game. And so then he's like, you know, what's my name? Like Asmodeus. Or I said Burr, because it was a secret thing I discovered from earlier. But and he's like, okay, good. And then he starts asking questions that... No, that was it. The second question straight away is like, okay, now you're going to say a phrase. You can say any phrase you like. That's what he got up to before I looked away. Because a friend on Steam started messaging me, and he's like, lol, what are you playing? Like Pony Island, what is this? Blah, blah, blah. And then I pressed Shift Tab to the Steam, bring up basically the pause game Steam interface to type back, and I see there's no chat message with anyone. No one's been messaging me. So I Shift Tab back into the game, and then Asmodeus gets me and he's like, he looked away. He stopped looking at me. And I was oh shit! Asmodeus simulated a friend talking to me to get me to look away from him. Like, it's really cool. Then gets to a point later where he crashes your computer, and you've got the options of either closing the game or waiting for the game to respond. So I was like, I'll wait for it. And it does the thing where it kind of dulls the screen and makes it, you know, that transparent white, and has the Windows message. And I'm like, wait for the program to respond. Waited like 2 minutes, didn't respond. So I alt-tabbed out, and then I was like, there's nothing wrong with the fucking game, go back into it. And he's like, you looked away, you lose. Again, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this fucking game. It did my head in.
That's genius.
Like, it was so cool, honestly. Like, when I got to that point in the game, I was just like, this is so cool. Based on the way that people talk so affectionately about Undertale, I think I got everything from Pony Island that other people got from Undertale. And it's purely the difference in length. I just felt Undertale dragged on too long. The gameplay was too repetitive for how long I was expected to keep doing it. Whereas Pony Island, it was only 2 hours. So yeah, the gameplay was exactly the same, left click, right click the whole way through, and that's it. But it only expected me to do it for 2 hours. So
that sounds really cool.
Yeah,
like some really creative ideas in there that would, and that's the kind of thing that I really enjoy these days as well, as having a game defy expectations. That kind of thing, I would have never seen that coming. And to get to get a message and go, I just wouldn't expect a game to have that level of meta kind of thinking in it.
Yeah.
Really, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, no. So that was really cool, and it's like, I don't know what it is. I think it's only about $2 on Steam.
$2.
Pick it up. Yeah. Abe's reaching for his laptop to make it.
This is happening right now.
It's super cheap, and because it's kind of a 2D side-scrolling, old school, like DOS art game, any computer could run it, like anything. So I recommend both of you guys grabbing it. I picked it up last year and started in the Lunar sales or whatever at the start of the year. So I got money off that, so I think I got it for like 50 cents or something.
Wow.
And I was like, it looks weird, but 50 cents. And it's got really high user reviews, might as well pick it up.
Yeah.
And then I heard some things about it, so I was like, all right, I'll try it. It seems like it's really short, so it's one I can actually get through and finish. And yeah, I loved every second of it. Brilliant game.
Amazing.
That sounds fantastic. Super good. I'm picking that up right now.
He's currently clicking away on his laptop. You can probably hear a tippity tap and a clickety clacketing.
Is this the new thing now then with the pod? We record the pod and we buy games immediately.
We essentially just convince each other buying those games is a good idea.
I mean, it's really hard not to recommend Pony Island, because even if you play it and you disagree with me and feel, no, Undertale was better, it did the same thing but first. And a lot of people online are arguing that Undertale did it better and first, therefore is the better game. My point would still stand that Undertale's $20 and expects you to do it for 6 hours. Pony Island's $2 and it's 2 hours. Like, you lose nothing by getting it, really, even if you don't enjoy it. $2,
Any sort of replay value, do you reckon?
Yeah, I mean, there's an alternate ending you can get if you collect all of the tickets throughout the game. I got maybe 6 out of the 24 tickets available, and even collecting the tickets is a really cool minigame. So it involves like playing around in the options menus, and some of them are super easy. Like one of them is literally, it's a tick box in the special options, saying print ticket, and then it prints on the tickets for you. And then there are some where, it's like, you just have to do specific things. Like one of them is a cool moment where the game changes, where normally you're fighting kind of Satan and demons and stuff in the pony jumping the laser beam minigame. And at one point things change and you assume it's a reskin trying to trick you, but then actually it seems like maybe it's not, and you're suddenly shooting angels and Jesus. And apparently you get a ticket if you don't kill Jesus, but I killed Jesus, and even popped up in a message and was like, thanks, you killed Jesus. Satan thanking me, and I was like, oh damn it. But yeah, no, it's got replay value if you want to go for the tickets, and I'd say if you don't use a guide and you legitimately try to work out where the tickets are and how to get them, that will probably considerably increase the time. Your replay would probably be longer than your initial play, and it probably take you sort of 4 hours if you wanted to go through and get all the tickets. So if you add those two together, first playthrough for funsies and then a completionist, you probably get about 6 hours out of a $2 purchase, which
not bad at
you
all.
Can't really argue with. So.
No, that sounds fantastic. Let me ask you guys, how do you feel about Bioshock?
I enjoyed the first one.
Yeah. You played any of the other ones?
I played all 3.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know if I played Bioshock 2. One Armageddon, I picked up the collector's edition for, I want to say $10, purely because it came with the record, the LP, and the art book and everything. And I was like, man, I want it just for that stuff. Don't think I ever actually put in the game and played it. But I played Infinity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Infinite. Yep.
I enjoyed Infinite. I enjoyed the first one as well. So I guess that the 2 I've played, I did like for totally different reasons. Infinite was a completely different style game to the original Bioshock. It lost pretty much all of its kind of vague thriller elements to it that the original had. But it's still fun. I mean, I'm not a massive fan of first-person shooters, so. It got a bit
that was
repetitive.
basically my thing as well. Is I played the first one like ages after it came out. It was just purely because it was cheap, and I knew that a lot of people had liked it, and it combined a couple of things that I'm no good at, which is first-person shooters and scary games.
Right.
Yeah, that was the thing. I rented it with some friends at the time who had a 360 when it was new, because I didn't have a 360 at the time, and we did the whole. Normally, you rent a game with your friends and you take it like when you die, you swap, you take it in turns. You're like waiting for your turn. But the original Bioshock was a game where we were loathing when it came up to our turn because there were just too many jump scares all the time. Like, I don't want to be on edge the whole time. Take my turn. I don't want to do it.
And that's
I want to
exactly
see
it.
the game, but I don't want to have to play it.
For me, like I mean, fine, I'll go to a scary movie or whatever. If you want me to go with you, cool, sweet. I'll give that a shot purely because because that's what you're keen on doing. But I'm never going to be the one to campaign for going to see a scary movie or playing a scary game. So hearing you talk about Layers of Fear while you say, oh yeah, it's cool, I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. And it's the same. The same thing happened with Bioshock when I tried it. It was just like, no, this is just totally not me. I feel comfortable, on edge. No.
That first moment with the spider splicers or whatever, where they kind of really play them up as being horrific, crawling on the ceiling and stuff. I was like, oh, these things are cool, but I don't want to play something.
Well, the reason I bring it up is because I, like you guys, I adore the first Bioshock. It's probably one of my favourite games. Just a top 20 or something like that. It'll definitely be in there. There was a moment in it was one of the first games I think I played with first-person melee combat. And I remember the initial weapon you get is a big wrench.
Yeah.
And I remember walking into the lighthouse and going down and into Rapture, and having to attack this woman who's just looks like she's just gone insane and starts attacking me and beating her with this wrench. And it's one of the most visceral experiences I've ever had in gaming. It was horrific. The sound design in that game is phenomenal, especially when concerning wrenches.
Quality wrench Foley work there.
Absolutely. Just so good. I haven't played it in years and years, and I'm very excited because it's just been announced that the Bioshock collection is on the way as a remastered Bioshock 1, 2, and
that's quite
Infinite.
cool.
So I'll definitely be picking that up.
Did you play any of the others after the original?
I've played Bioshock 1 and, like you, Bioshock Infinite. And I really like them both. I like Bioshock 1 a lot more. I did like Infinite, but I didn't love it. But I think Bioshock 1 would be a great game for us all to play together as well. So I think we should probably do it.
I think especially Reagan, since you haven't played it the whole way through, there's a really cool I'm sure you know that kind of mind moment at the end with whatever his name is. Where he reveals why you've been doing what you've been doing. That was a really cool moment in the plot.
There's some awesome stuff in that game. So I think we should
put that second on the list for Reagan playing games that he probably isn't going to enjoy. But that's fine.
But Bioshock Collection. I get this news because it's been rated on a Spanish games distribution website. It came up and it's been rated, like the rating has appeared and details have appeared. So, obviously it's probably going to drop at E3 or something, I would imagine. Irrational, unfortunately, do not exist as a studio anymore. Ken Levine disbanded Irrational after Infinite. So,
I wonder if it's at all tying in kind of to tide people over, because I'm almost certain they're going to announce a new System Shock game at the next E3. There's been hints for a while, so I'm wondering if this is kind of coming in like, hey, we'll work on System Shock, but to tide you over in the meantime.
Here's remake Bioshocks. That I would be really, really happy with that because I'm a huge fan of the Bioshock series. But that's pretty exciting news. We've also got. Is anyone interested in Hitman at all?
I wasn't until quite recently, and sort of looking into some playthroughs of the beta and the stages that are at the moment, and I think it looks great. Yeah, it's sort of. I've never played any of the Hitman games, so I'll say that first up. So I have no idea what to expect. Me being actually a pretty noobish kind of gamer, but it sort of, in a way, I guess just reminded me of like old spy games like GoldenEye, that kind of thing. Right. Not at all in any way like GoldenEye, but it just kind of had that same vibe. And watching and the whole sandbox kind of thing where you can kind of choose. I don't know how many people out there have actually looked into the new Hitman game. They're calling it episodic. So there's going to be various maps that will be released at different times. But it seems to me like it's going to be really cool, and that whole idea of sort of having a hit and being able to plan how you want to do that hit. And there could be plenty of replay value there because you've got different ways that you can go about doing it. I am actually really excited for it. I think it could be really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I've played Blood Money, Contract, Silent Assassin. I think I've played most of the Hitman games. Most of them, to be honest, I just fucked around in. I didn't try and get Silent Assassin rank or anything like that. I was just having fun dressing up as a flower delivery man and then shooting someone in the face. Or, dressing up as a clown and reenacting my John Wayne Gacy fantasies.
Yeah.
But I'm really intrigued by it. I think it looks really good. I enjoyed the shit out of Blood Money. That's the only one I really played properly. And it was fantastic. It's, as you said, just a big sandbox. You essentially choose how you want to do things.
Yeah.
You can fuck it up right in the middle and you have to change your tactic vastly right in the middle of the mission. And there's nothing else really out there. A Hitman simulator type game. There's nothing else out there to fill that niche. So
I'm pretty pumped for it.
Yeah, I think so. Balthazar,
Yeah, I mean, Blood Money was the only Hitman game I enjoyed. But unfortunately, the whole Hitman franchise has been tarnished by the fact that the only one I can remember playing is Absolution, which is the most recent one. Which
I have played that, I just forgot about it.
Garbage. It was so bad.
He's the one, he remembers it and you forgot about it.
Unfortunately, I wish I could forget it, but unfortunately it overwrote my memories for the others. So I know from recollection, while I can't remember much of Blood Money other than this one segment where I had to get into a truck at the end and I just couldn't get in, just wasn't acknowledging me trying to get into it. I remember that I loved that game. I loved Blood Money. It was really good. But Absolution is the only game I actually remember the game itself, and I did not enjoy Absolution.
Absolution is very, very linear in comparison to the other Hitman games.
It was very much just, you start here, here's your objective. I mean, even the ones that were open world, it was a very small open world. Like, I'm reminded of the marketplace. I mean, even if you forget the game, you remember that kind of marketplace. Very densely packed kind of eastern marketplace. And you have to assassinate basically the king of the city, basically is what they call him.
Yeah.
And he's right in the middle, and he's kind of walking back and forth, and everyone can see him at all times, and you have to try and work out how you can get through and kill him. And it's like, in premise, awesome. It's densely packed. It's going to be really hard to get away with this and do it. But then in practice, when you look at it, it's like, this map is just so tiny. It's so tiny that there's really only one viable way to do it, and then a whole load of ways of just fucking it all up.
Are you talking about poisoning them? I remember that one. And compare that to a mission from Blood Money, which is stuck in my mind, in which you're at sort of a chateau type resort and there's a big party going on and you have to assassinate a certain person, and at one point they get in a spa pool and you shoot out the sort of glass bottom of the spa pool and they just fall to their death. And I was like, that's so fucking cool.
That is cool.
I was like, is this going to work? And it did, and I love when that happens.
And the game doesn't mind a bit of collateral damage. It doesn't matter if you take out a couple others.
You lose rank.
It'll affect your pay at the end, or your rank, but it's not kind of like
it's not
Assassin's Creed. Your ancestor didn't kill somebody.
Yeah, desynchronized. But I'm very intrigued by that. I wish it wasn't episodic because I'm just not a fan of that shit in general. But I'll probably pick up the prologue, and I think it comes with the prologue and maybe the first two maps, maybe one map. I can't actually remember.
Possibly one map.
Yeah, that sounds pretty interesting. IO Interactive don't really do too much, so interesting to see what they're doing. Next thing I wanted to talk about, just really, really briefly, have you guys ever had any experience with maybe having one or two drinks, one or two tibbles, a port or so forth.
Yep.
And then maybe jumping in and playing some games.
Are we talking about augmented reality here, or are we just talking about?
We're talking about pretty much sloshed gaming. Is essentially what I'd really refer to it as. Have you guys ever partook in that?
Not really, no. I mean, I've never been a big drinker, so it's not been my kind of thing. I will say that I've partaken in other forms of inebriation, shall we say, and that's always been quite pleasurable for myself in terms of immersion and these kinds of things.
Right.
But I would certainly not say that it has improved my performance in said games.
Now, that's interesting you should say that, because as we all know, one of the most difficult and unbelievably frustrating games of this past 5 to 10 years is Team Meat's Super Meat Boy.
Mm-hmm.
You can die in less than half a second in that game if you don't know what you're doing. And one night I came home, had a few drinks, decided I was gonna jump in and play some Super Meat Boy. Why not? It was on PlayStation Plus. I was really enjoying it. I'm not the worst at that game in general, but just playing it whilst like almost completely pissed. I just bounced like 3 worlds, like completely trounced through about 3 worlds in about an hour maybe, and that's like unprecedented. Super Meat Boy is just, you can be stuck on the same level for a very, very, very long time.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I honestly don't know what caused this, because I don't really think I was paying attention to the game. It didn't really felt like I was.
Odd.
Yeah.
Odd. And do you think, is it just from sort of being a little more relaxed on the control perhaps? And
Potentially, or, I just somehow subconsciously played through it. And whilst my mind was elsewhere, the other part of my the video game dedicated part of my brain was like, all right, that's our time to shine.
Yeah, get out of my way, eh?
Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm in the back seat, just la 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 la. Yeah. So I thought that was a really interesting. I
wonder how that would go with other games. If perhaps if there's anyone out there listening who does this regularly, who could share your thoughts on that. It might be that perhaps it applies to platformers or something like that, where there's a certain element of flow that's required. Perhaps
you've just got that muscle memory built in by that time, and you can just switch off, and it doesn't really matter in what sort of mental condition you're in.
Interesting. Maybe we need to do some scientific trials with this at some point.
Potentially.
I feel like you could be our prime candidate for testing this out. So look forward to the feature around this in the future on overcastgamer.com, which is coming up. So yeah,
that's going to be an interesting one. Another thing we should probably talk about there as well, Balthazar, I think you sort of wrote this down here, is the Doom pre-order from my
Yeah, I mean, I noticed this and I thought it was pretty cool, because it could potentially be an indicator of fairer prices coming our way.
Right.
So recently Mighty Ape had a 24-hour special where if you pre-order Doom, you get it for $85, 85 New Zealand dollars, which is pretty much an unprecedented price for a full game, especially like a AAA title.
I love that idea of a cheaper price on pre-order.
Yeah, because I mean, essentially that's what they used to be. From recollection, I was in the UK growing up, so again, it could have been different to here anyway. But I seem to recall that was the thing before companies got carried away with pre-orders and being like, let's give them a bit of DLC or whatever. Before there were extras, the incentive to pre-order was just save £10. If you pre-order.
It was.
That was the incentive to pre-order, was they get your money. It's a guaranteed sale from you, but you save money if you put it down towards it, kind of thing.
That to me feels like a far more appealing deal than getting a couple shitty skins.
Some skins that don't even work.
So I saw this on Mighty Ape and I just thought, is it a sign of changing prices or even a sign of shifting mentality towards pre-orders? Either way, if it's anything more than a one-off and it does continue into the future, it can only mean good things for us.
Yeah,
really.
See, my thought when I saw this on the sheet here was, perhaps it's the developer or something like that. But then you think about, something like id Software, they've been around for a long, long time. They don't need, perhaps it's because they are so old school, they were like, let's just go with our original, like what we did back in the day.
I'd love to believe that in my heart, that it would do that. But again, Bethesda are the publishers, and they would have some sort of say in that matter.
Almost the fact that it was only 24 hours on the site, it was very specific. It's like pre-order on this date, and you get it for this price, was the indicator to me. That was probably something Mighty Ape was doing totally separately from the producers and developers. They were just like, maybe compared to other AAA titles, Doom wasn't getting pre-orders, and they thought, we want to try and secure some. I mean, I don't really know what the reasoning was, but it was a strange thing to see, really. I haven't seen anything like it in New Zealand.
No. And I remember you did used to get cheaper pre-orders in New Zealand, because I have vivid memories of pre-ordering Time Splitters Future Perfect, which is the third Time Splitters game on PlayStation 2, for $70 back in the day, from a now failing electronic retailer.
Which will remain unnamed.
Yeah, will remain unnamed. But yeah, no, we definitely did used to get cheaper games from pre-order, and that is a massive incentive for me.
Absolutely.
Because I'm such a cheapskate, that if they did give me actual money off the game, fuck yeah, I'd be in on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Rather than this ridiculous, you might get an extra skin.
Well, I mean, that was the thing anyway.
Character or something.
Yeah.
Those are
Shitty
always
like
what the developers put in. They're like, hey, we'll do all this stuff for pre-order. So I mean, Mighty Ape was doing all that as well. They're like, on this day, if you pre-order it, you get it for $85. You also get the BFG keychain, the steelbook, and all the other pre-order bonuses. This is kind of like, this is our bonus to you if you pre-order it now, kind of thing. So I mean, yeah, I kind of hope in a way that it is something that Mighty Apes just decided to do on their own that will be a continuing trend for them, because it means that we still get the garbage that we don't really want, but also the cheaper prices. So I don't really see developers changing their mentality on what they give you for pre-ordering.
Yeah.
But stores certainly can.
Look at the evidence of that is Ubisoft's chart they came up with for the Watch Dogs pre-order literally had, it was a matrix figuring out what you got, because there was so many different editions of Watch Dogs that you had to go down this column and this column, and I get the hat and I get the absolutely ridiculous.
Brilliant. That's quality publishing work right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Balthazar, I think you wanted to talk about Anki Overdrive.
Yeah. So this discussion with you guys is augmented reality. I mean, it's something that's coming up as being something that's, becoming more prevalent. I mean, there's been those trailers and stuff for quite a few games that are going to be using, phone cameras and stuff to influence them.
I think you should give a quick, brief synopsis on what Anki Overdrive is.
Sure.
And then we should discuss, because I'm of the mind that it's not, but go.
All right.
What is
I mean, that's the thing. So Anki Overdrive basically is a game with physical cars, so like little remote control cars, on a track that you build out of pieces. So kind of slot pieces.
Like the old RC, not RC cars, but slot cars.
Kind of like slot cars. But it's not, slotted into the lane, so you can change lanes as you go. You build the track, they drive around the track. You download an app, and you then use the app to change the lane your car is in, but also the app displays the track as a map with dots on it indicating power-ups, Mario Kart style,
right? And
you change lane to drive into power-ups, and then you use the app to attack the other cars on the track. You knock them off, and the physical cars react based on what's being used. So if you use, for example, something that slows them down, the cars in front of you will all slow down. If you use the equivalent of a red shell, like a gun, shoot out, the car on track flies off the track.
How did they implement those?
No fucking idea. Don't know how they did it. My question is, using an app in a way where while the cars are going around, your sole focus is on the app, not the physical things on the track. You just, if you're out, you watch the track as well to see what's happening. You're effectively playing the app, and this thing is happening in real life. So is this a form of augmented reality gaming?
So
I feel like it's augmented reality flipped on its head, because usually with augmented reality, you've got reality and they impose something superficial over the top of that. Whereas this is, you've got sort of the software and then a physical thing kind of happening in front of you alongside of it. It's not quite in my mind, but I can easily see how someone would make that correlation.
Yeah, I mean, I effectively put it on as a discussion. I was wondering if it counted as augmented reality, really, because the app is what you're playing. But you're right, the app, the digital aspect of it isn't overlaying on the kind of real physical thing or the perception of reality. It's just something that's happening parallel to the real thing.
So you're pretty much always watching the app, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, you occasionally look, because for example, I built an absolutely retarded track and I put the track going up over chairs and shit and coming down. So there were always points to when you saw the cars approaching that area on the app, you'd look up to check that they're going to make it over, because it was just, I really made a stupid track.
So you owed some of this?
So it's all of friends. His brother had it all, and we set it up over there, and we played 4-player. We had 4 cars and then 4 of the apps. We just played it over there and built a track.
It sounds like fun, regardless of whether you think it's augmented reality or not. It sounds like a good time. I don't see the difference. I mean, it's kind of cool to have that physical track in front of you, but to me, you might as well either get slot cars or you might as well just get a racing game.
Yeah.
You know, if so much of it is in the app. That's true. That sounds pretty awesome. I don't know. I'd love to have a shot on it, but it's not something I'd go out and buy because I feel like it was like the next big thing or anything.
If the app projected qualities onto those cars, wherein you were looking through the camera or something like that, that might move it into that category for me. Gave them properties that it didn't otherwise have unless you look through the camera on your phone or whatever. But because it's just kind of going on in the background, it seems like two separate things.
I
can't really see the falling under that definition.
Yeah.
But no, it is very interesting. I'll keep an eye on that as well.
Absolutely.
Last thing, guys, as always, what I've now deemed bitching about glitchin. Has anyone noticed anything weird? Obviously, Pony Island was entirely that.
The game was fake glitches and crashes the whole way through.
Which is so cool. I'm still pretty...
As far as glitching goes, though, it was solid. There weren't any unintentional breaks in the game.
How trippy would that be if it actually crashed?
Yeah, I wouldn't believe it. I wouldn't know what was going on. There's a point in the game...
40 minutes later, he's like, nah, I'm not convinced this is a real crash.
There's a point in the game, I actually had to ask some friends on Steam, should I do this? Because there was a point in the game where it was telling me to proceed. It was telling me to uninstall the game. And I was like, is there a way that it can remember that I've installed the game? Like, is there any possible way that uninstalling the game and then putting it back on, the game could then know that it had been uninstalled and put back on and continue? Or is it just trying to trick me? And they're like, man, I don't fucking know what's going on. I was like, I don't know. I ended up not uninstalling it and I could progress.
Awesome. I saw this on the list and I was like, that's right, we've got to talk about bitching about glitching this week. And having played only really Unravel, not really, and that was kind of part of what impressed me about the game, is it was all just spot on and solid. The only little bits and pieces that I noticed in that game were some places where there's movable objects like snowballs and things like that you've got to push about and build bridges with your yarn to get them up and down. Some little minor glitches with that, like if you land on that movable object while it's pushed up against a wall or something, you might get stuck. You can't just kind of move about, or you can't push it to the side from where you are in that little kind of wedge space.
Is that sort of game breaking, or is that...
No, because you could... I mean, I thought it was going to be when it happened, and it only happened once in the whole playthrough. So I was like, oh, hopefully this isn't... and I couldn't jump away because it hadn't sensed that he was on a solid surface or anything like that. But you can just... In the particular spot I was in, there happened to be like an anchor point, so he's basically got a lasso with his yarn. Okay. So I just lassoed up to it and he pulled himself out of it, and it was sweet. But I guess if it had been at a point where there was nothing about that I could have lassoed onto, might have been game breaking.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. But aside from that, it was great. That was one of the points that I really liked about it, was the physics in it and how well
responsive they were.
Yeah, responsive. And there were times throughout that game where the surface that you were playing on was ice, and you'd slip and slide around and all that kind of thing. Like nothing groundbreaker or anything. I'm pretty sure Yoshi games and Mario games.
Ice has been done.
Yeah, I say no new thing, but yeah, it was. Yeah, I wish something had broken so that I could bitch and moan about it. As the section entails, but it was solid.
Sounds pretty Kiwi to me. We all love a good moan. The one thing I wanted to bring up, it's not actually anything that happened to me, but I went online and I saw, so in Firewatch, it's on PC obviously, and someone got into the develop console and sort of zoomed out of the first person view, and the character model is an absolute abomination. If you view it from a third-person view, because in the first person you have these big arms, meaty arms, as I said before, and stuff. So in the actual third-person view is this very, very skinny man with these absolutely enormous Popeye arms and legs, just like kind of like octopussing around the place. It's very unsettling to watch from that point of view. But obviously, you're not meant to get in there and look at that sort of those sort of assets and stuff like that. But I just thought that was really interesting, and I'm sure a lot of other games that are first person would be the same.
Yeah, almost certainly.
Yeah. So,
I noticed something in Layers of Fear actually. Hippie Simulator 2016. You pretty much there's this sequence where you keep submerging your head in the bathtub, and kind of as you're drowning, like you're seeing visions and you need to go through them all to progress. But there's one point where I kind of gotten up from the bath after seeing the first one, because I thought I was done. Tried to get out the room, door was still locked. I'm like, all right, I have to do it again. But for whatever reason, the game didn't account for the possibility that people might not think, oh, I'm going to have to do this several times in a row. So when I went to go, sit back down and submerge my head, it just tripped out and went really weird. And every time I tried to submerge my head, the TV screen just became a kaleidoscope of like purple and yellow and greeny spheres colliding with each other and spinning around, and I couldn't get it to progress. I couldn't get it to actually start showing me the visions again. So then I tried to get up, but he wouldn't get up anymore. I was moving the left thumbstick to see if maybe I'd gotten up and could step away, and the camera was just drifting around the screen. So if I pulled the thumbstick down, the camera would just drift downwards until the bathtub was no longer anywhere in view. But I couldn't stand up, I couldn't do anything. I was just a free-forming camera floating around, and if I held R2, he would try to submerge his head in the water, but he was not there anymore. He was floating somewhere in space, and the screen would just become a kaleidoscope of colours.
So it's like 2001 at Indie Odyssey or something.
Yeah, so that was just really weird and game-breaking. I did have to restart checkpoint, which fortunately is a start button, a start menu command. Restart checkpoint. Just went back. He was back at the start of the bathroom, just submerged my head 3 times in a row or whatever. But that was really weird. I didn't get how it happened or why, and it kind of broke the mood of the entire game. But yeah,
I've now smoked an entire spliff and I'm just tripping fucking balls.
Absolutely.
That's all we've probably got time for this week, folks. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back in a fortnight as usual to chat some more video. So we'll catch you next time.
Thanks very much for
guys.
listening,
See you
guys.
later.
See ya.